Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all on behalf of Ckredence Wealth in today's webinar on thriving through economic cycles, three-pillar plan. We're excited to delve into the strategies and insights that our new fund launched, the ICE Growth Fund. This session will also cover the latest market updates and effective strategies to navigate the current economic landscape. Our esteemed speaker today is Mr. Kartik Mehta, our fund manager, who brings with him 19 years of rich experience in the equity markets. Mr. Mehta holds a master degree in finance and is renowned for his adept use of both top-down and bottom-up approaches in research. His exceptional stock picking skills have consistently delivered impressive returns for our clients. We are confident that his expertise and insights will provide valuable guidance and actionable strategies for all of us. We will have a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Kartik Mehta. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Abhay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for your time. I hope that by the end of the session, you would be enriched with lots of knowledge and altogether different thought process, what we are looking at with this new product. So, हमारा जो नया प्रोडक्ट है उसका मैं आपको शुरू में ब्रीफ दूंगा एंड देन विल टॉक अबाउट आवर परफॉर्मेंस एंड देन द Q&A. I'll just share the screen with you all. So, Abhay, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, ये जो नया प्रोडक्ट है उसका नाम हमने रखा है ICE Growth Investment Approach. ICE is a abbreviation. So the ICE, there are three important pillars और उसके बेसिस पे ये एक हमने अप्रोच बनाया है. अब ये जो अप्रोच हम लेके आए हैं तो हमारा एक प्राइमरी थॉट प्रोसेस ये था कि ये बजट में जो टैक्सेशन शॉर्ट टर्म एंड लॉन्ग टर्म में बढ़ा है, LTCG एंड STCG, उसके वजह से हमको ऐसा सोचना हमने ऐसा सोचा कि इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए हम क्या बेटर कर सकते हैं ताकि उनकी इंक्रीमेंटल टैक्स लायबिलिटी थोड़ी कम कर सके. सो जनरली क्या होता है ना कि फंड मैनेजर चर्न इसलिए करते हैं कि जो उनके जो एग्जिस्टिंग विनर्स है वो थोड़े से एग्जॉस्ट हो जाते हैं. अच्छा खासा रिटर्न देने के बाद ऐसा लगता है कि इंक्रीमेंटल रिटर्न अभी उसमें ज़्यादा बचा नहीं है तो वो बेच के नए विनर्स ढूंढते हैं. या तो फिर जो लूजर्स होते हैं, मतलब हर बार तो आप सक्सेसफुल स्टॉक पिकर नहीं बन सकते हो, 10 में से 8 या 7 बार सही जाते हो, 1-2 बार गलत जाते हो कोई ना कोई रीजन से. तो अगर आप गलत गए वो स्टॉक में से एग्जिट लेके नया स्टॉक पिकअप करना पड़ता है. सो ये प्रोसेस को हम चर्निंग बोलते हैं और उसकी वजह से टैक्स लायबिलिटीज आती है. दिस पार्ट, इट इज पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ द इन्वेस्टमेंट एक्सरसाइज एंड वो हम सालों से करते आ रहे हैं. बट हमने सोचा कि कैसे हम इसको भी बेटर कर सकते हैं विथ लो चर्निंग एंड लो टैक्सेशन. एंड येट चर्निंग इसलिए होता है कि रिटर्न बेटर हो सके, लेकिन हमने एक ऐसा प्रोडक्ट सोचा है जिसमें हम विथ मिनिमम चर्निंग वी कैन मैक्सिमाइज द रिटर्न एंड दैट इज व्हाई वी हैव डिसाइडेड टू लॉन्च दिस प्रोडक्ट बिकॉज हम इसमें काफ़ी कॉन्फिडेंट है कि हम जो सोचते हैं उस हिसाब से हम इसमें डिलीवर कर सकते हैं. That is basically long-term investing and yet outperforming the markets over the period of time. So कोई भी इकोनॉमी ग्लोबली 3 पिलर पे खड़ी होती है. सबसे पहला पिलर होता है इन्वेस्टमेंट का पिलर, जिसमें गवर्नमेंट रोड, ब्रिजेस, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, पावर प्लांट, रिफाइनरी वो सब में इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं. या फिर प्राइवेट कंपनीज या फिर PSU कंपनीज भी प्लांट एंड मशीनरीज में इन्वेस्ट करती है. या फिर पीपल लाइक यू एंड मी इंडिविजुअली इन्वेस्ट इनटू रियल एस्टेट. सो दिस आर द सेगमेंट्स जो इन्वेस्टमेंट पिलर के पार्ट है. सेकंड इज कंजम्पशन. कंजम्पशन पिलर पे भी इकोनॉमी दौड़ती है. सो कंजम्पशन ऑफ नेसेसरी आइटम्स और डिस्क्रिशनरी आइटम. एंड थर्ड इज एक्सपोर्ट्स. एक्सपोर्ट्स ऑफ गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज दैट आप अपने देश से दूसरे कंट्रीज में आप चीजें पहुंचाते हो. अभी स्टॉक मार्केट में है ना, ये तीनों पिलर एक साथ कभी परफॉर्म नहीं करते. ऐसा होता है, हिस्टोरिकल एविडेंस है हमारे पास कि कोई भी एक पिलर बहुत डिस्प्रोपोर्शनेटली ज्यादा परफॉर्म करता है या फिर मैक्सिमम 2 पिलर्स एंड बाकी के पिलर्स अंडर परफॉर्म करते हैं. सो मार्केट के रिटर्न्स काफी लॉपसाइडेड और स्क्यूड होते हैं। सो उसमें ऐसा नहीं है कि तीनों पिलर इकोनॉमी के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है, लेकिन स्टॉक मार्केट में तीनों पिलर एक साथ परफॉर्म नहीं करते हैं। सो इसके इसके क्या रीजन हो सकते हैं? जैसे अभी ऑफ लेट देखा जाएगा, इन्वेस्टमेंट पिलर पिछले 3-4 साल में बहुत अच्छा किया, बिकॉज देयर हैज बीन इम्प्रूव्ड कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर। जो गवर्नमेंट बजटरी एलोकेशन करती है कैपेक्स का, जो 1.3 1.4% ऑफ जीडीपी था, इट हैज इंक्रीज टू अराउंड 3.3 3.4% ऑफ जीडीपी। या तो फिर टैक्स इंसेंटिव होते हैं पर्टिकुलर सेक्टर्स या कंपनीज के लिए। फिजिकल हेल्थ, गवर्नमेंट की अगर हेल्थ अच्छी है तो भी वो इन्वेस्टमेंट ज्यादा करते हैं। तो ये पिलर का ट्रिगर है। कंजम्पशन में जैसे वेलफेयर स्कीम्स बढ़ती है, टैक्स रिडक्शंस होते हैं इन द हैंड्स ऑफ कंज्यूमर, या तो फिर लूज मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी होती है जैसे इंटरेस्ट रेट कम होता है। एक्सपोर्ट्स में क्या है, आपका एज अ कंट्री आप कॉस्ट कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस ज्यादा अचीव करते हो। यू बिकम मोर कॉम्पिटिटिव वर्सेस योर नेक्स्ट नेक्स्ट डोर कंपिटिटर और अदर कंट्रीज। ग्लोबल डिमांड भी बहुत बॉयंट है, या तो एक इंडस्ट्री स्पेसिफिक ट्रिगर है जिसकी वजह से आपके वो पर्टिकुलर इंडस्ट्री के एक्सपोर्ट सब्सटेंशियली बढ़ जाते हैं। सो ये इंडिविजुअल ट्रिगर्स हर पिलर को इम्पैक्ट करते हैं। सो एज अ फंड हमारा ये एम है कि वो हम आइडेंटिफाई करें कि कौन से पिलर रेम्यूनरेटिव हो सकते हैं, मतलब यहाँ से 2 साल 3 साल में कौन सा पिलर का सबसे ज्यादा अच्छा ट्रेंड मार्केट में बनता दिख रहा है। और उसको आइडेंटिफाई करने के बाद हम उसमें डिस्प्रोपोर्शनेटली ज्यादा वेट लेंगे और उसको होल्ड करके रखेंगे। एंड जनरली वो कोई भी पिलर जब रेम्यूनरेटिव होता है ना, उसका टाइम पीरियड 2 से 3 साल मिनिमम होता ही है। उससे ज्यादा भी प्ले करता है, लेकिन एटलीस्ट 2 से 3 साल वो पिलर परफॉर्म करता है। सो यहाँ पे आप देखिए तो सेक्टर्स वाइज तीनों पिलर में डिफरेंट डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स है। जैसे इन्वेस्टमेंट पिलर है तो उसमें इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, कैपिटल गुड्स है, सीमेंट, पीएसयूज, मेटल, ऑटो, कमर्शियल व्हीकल, होलसेल लेंडर्स, शिपिंग, रियल एस्टेट, पावर, ऑयल एंड गैस। सो दूसरा जो सेकंड पिलर है, दैट इज योर कंजम्पशन पिलर, जिसमें एफएमसीजी, ऑटो, टू व्हीलर, पैसेंजर व्हीकल्स आता है। रिटेल में गारमेंट्स, ज्वेलरी, फुटवेयर, ई कॉमर्स, क्विक कॉमर्स, ग्रोसरीज, फास्ट मूविंग इलेक्ट्रिकल गुड्स, कंज्यूमर ड्यूरेबल, बिल्डिंग मटेरियल। सो ये सारा आपका कंजम्पशन पिलर का पार्ट है, बोथ नेसेसरी और डिस्क्रिशनरी कंजम्पशन। तो थर्ड पिलर है एक्सपोर्ट्स। हर कंट्री का उसमें सेक्टर्स बदलता है। जैसे इंडिया है तो उसके कंटेक्स में देखो तो आईटी, फार्मा, केमिकल, गारमेंट्स, इंडस्ट्रियल्स, और कोई भी कंपनी जिसका 45 to 50% ऑफ द रेवेन्यू एक्सपोर्ट से आता है वो एक्सपोर्ट पिलर में क्वालिफाई करते हैं। अभी ये फंड में आपका इज जस्ट इलस्ट्रेशन, डोंट गो बाय द कलर साइज। सो इसमें आपको लार्ज एंड मिड, स्मॉल मिड दोनों सेगमेंट, तीनों सेगमेंट मिलेंगे। वैल्यू एंड ग्रोथ स्टाइल मिलेगा, डिफेंसिव या साइक्लिकल्स, एक्सपोर्ट या डोमेस्टिक, इंटरेस्ट रेट सेंसिटिव या नॉन इंटरेस्ट रेट सेंसिटिव, स्टेट ऑन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, पीएसयूज और नॉन पीएसयूज। सो सारे कॉम्बिनेशंस ये फंड में प्ले करने को मिलेंगे। सो द पोर्टफोलियो कंस्ट्रक्ट का जो फ्रेमवर्क है बड़ा सिंपल है। यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई द विनिंग पिलर विद द टॉप डाउन अप्रोच, जिसमें आप बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स कंसिडर करके ये डिसाइड करते हो कि यहाँ से मुझे ये पिलर में सबसे ज़्यादा रिटर्न बनता दिख रहा है। उसके अंदर में जो सेक्टर्स मैंने आपको आगे बताए थे वो सेक्टर्स आपको पिकअप करने हैं अच्छे वाले। एंड देन you have to select the portfolio stocks based upon management qualities and business risk, scalability, sustainability and valuation with bottom up approach. एंड फाइनली ये सब का कॉम्बिनेशन विनिंग पिलर, विनिंग सेक्टर्स, विनिंग स्टॉक्स करके एक रोबस्ट पोर्टफोलियो बनता है। एंड देन ये पोर्टफोलियो आपका फेयरली लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम रहता है। इसमें चर्न रेशियो वेरी वेरी लो रहेगा। मे बी 15 to 20%, एट द मैक्स 25% ऑफ द पोर्टफोलियो माइट बी churned in a year. Otherwise our endeavor is that even not to churn that much. So that's what, and we are very confident because once you identify the right pillar and you stick to that, you can have a substantial wealth creation over the period of time. इसमें मार्केट कैप फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी रहेगी, एज आई सेड, डायनेमिक एसेट एलोकेशन है, रिस्क मैनेजमेंट है, एक्टिव मैनेजमेंट है। वैसे हम इसको बेंचमार्क एग्नोस्टिक प्रोडक्ट बोलते हैं बिकॉज कोई भी एक पिलर का हमने डिस्प्रोपोर्शनेटली ज़्यादा वेट ले लिया और मेरे बेंचमार्क में उतना वेट नहीं है, तो ऐसा हो सकता है कि फॉर अ वाइल द फंड में अंडर परफॉर्म द बेंचमार्क because of the disproportionate variation in the weightages between the portfolio and the benchmark, but जब outperform करेगा तो भी बहुत significant outperform करेगा। सो ऑब्जेक्टिव ये है कि ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम आपका रिटर्न बेंचमार्क से सस्टेनेबली ज्यादा होना चाहिए। आज की तारीख में हम पोर्टफोलियो इसका जो बनाए हैं उसका कॉम्बिनेशन तीनों पिलर का इस तरह से अराउंड 40 to 50% ऑफ द पोर्टफोलियो वी आर लाइकली टू पुट इनटू कंजम्पशन. Around 30 to 40% is going to be into exports and balance is into investment. Now, there is another way to look at it. That is because this is a broader framework, but under or combination barbell structure का किया हुआ है that we'll have a 40% portfolio एकदम stable compounding business में रहेगा जिसमें scalability, growth, pricing power, return ratios, cash flows वो सब पे focus होता है. 40% बिजनेस आप पोर्टफोलियो आपका एकदम टर्न अराउंड नेम्स में रहेगा जिसमें स्केल एक इन्फ्लेक्शन पॉइंट पे पहुंचा हुआ है और वहां से अच्छा खासा मार्जिन प्रोफाइल चेंज हो सकता है, ऑपरेटिंग लिवरेज जबरदस्त आ सकता है, प्रोडक्ट इनोवेशन या तो न्यू लॉन्चेस विल चेंज द पर्सपेक्टिव. बेसिकली बिजनेस इज गोइंग टू चेंज द लेन and it is going to move from slow or medium lane to the fast lane. So वो turnaround names 40% of the portfolio हम कर रहे हैं. तो it is like very stable combination, 40% stable compounders and 40% turnaround names. And balance 20% we are going to put into quality cyclical businesses where the focus is on cost leadership. जहाँ पे cyclical business में क्या होता है आपका cost पे बहुत ज्यादा focus होना चाहिए. You should be always very very competitive compared to the next peer in terms of your cost curve. तो चाहे इकोनॉमिक साइकिल जितना भी खराब हो आपका कॉस्ट पे इतना जबरदस्त कंट्रोल है कि आप अब फिर भी लोएस्ट ऑफ द लोएस्ट इकोनॉमिक साइकिल के पॉइंट पे भी प्रॉफिटेबल रह सकते हो, आपकी बैलेंस शीट भी बहुत स्ट्रांग हो और आपके पास डाउन साइकिल ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड बहुत अच्छे हैं. So that will be 20% of the portfolio. This is another way to look at the portfolio over and above. So under the basic umbrella of three pillar consumption, exports and investment, we would have a combination like 40, 40 and 20. In terms of market cap, the portfolio would have around 25 to 35 into large cap, 12 to 20 into mid cap and balance into small cap. Also 20 से 25% portfolio आपका next generation businesses में रहेगा जिसमें the businesses which are likely to get an impetus because of the generational change habit or because of innovation. So we'll talk about it later on. As far as small cap is concerned, though it is looking high, 60% of the portfolio, but 60 ka 60, around 36, 37% of the portfolio is likely to be from defensive sector because defensive sectors में already हमारा बहुत ज़्यादा conviction consumer या तो export pillar में है. So 60% small cap का 60% और 37% of the portfolio, 36, 37% of the portfolio will be coming from defensive small caps. As far as overlap is concerned, हमारे तीन प्रोडक्ट हैं, ऑल वेदर, डाइवर्सिफाइड एंड बिजनेस साइकिल. So maximum 35% of the portfolio of the existing product will be similar to the new products. So remaining 65% of the portfolio will be far different. And as of now जो हमारा प्रोडक्ट बना है और पोर्टफोलियो बना है उसमें ओवरलैप रेशियो अराउंड 23-24% हो रहा है. So it's quite phenomenal that we are going to launch a altogether different product with a different ownership. And as a investor, you will have a very nice quality डाइवर्सिफिकेशन. आपका पूरा नया प्रोडक्ट ही आपको दिखेगा ये. As of now, we like consumption and exports over investment. And investment में हम इसलिए भी नहीं जा रहे, एक जैसे ये डेटा है कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर का बजट में, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के बजट में जो YOY ग्रोथ नंबर आता है. So if you look at carefully, the growth has been tapering off. The last year budgeted number growth estimate is 17%. We think that looking at changing political landscape and also based upon the very high base already in the balance sheet, incremental capital expenditure growth may not be more than 15 to 18%. We would be very surprised if the budget gives 20 to 25% sort of a capital expenditure growth from here on. So if it is 15 to 18%, it is largely discounted by the market as well, and it is already known to all of us. So that is why we think that कि यहाँ पे surprise के scope नहीं है. दूसरा, capex has got three parts. One is a state capex, center capex, state capex, private capex. So state capex is actually on a slow lane because of growing freebies culture. we have already seen, Maharashtra's budget as well, where the progressive thought process oriented government like NDA has also thrown the towel, and they've also decided to give so many freebies. And in India, it is very sure that once you start a freebies, you can't close it or you can shut the program. So that will have some impact on the development capex from the state side. There has been a relatively some pressure to look at the rural and mass market segment as well. So our sense is that the investment pillar may not be a very strong contender for the next 2-3 years point of view. Consumption, on the contrary, has underperformed since last 4 years, and the valuations there have become reasonable. Plus, if you look at the few macro points, like India mein jo working age population hai, that is between 25 years to 64 years basket. So next 20 years mein India will be adding around 17.9 crore people in that working age basket. The next best case is US, where US will be adding 12 million or 1.2 crore people. Now, if you look at the Europe, there will be degrowth, and the biggest surprise to many of you might be China, which is going to actually see the reverse migration or reverse demographic play of withdrawal of the working age population in the overall population basket. So the reason is very simple. China is now aging country. The median age is close to 40. हमारा कुछ 29 and a half है. Their average family size is also 2.7. Our family size is close to 4.5, which used to be 6 during 1990s. Now it is 4.5. And, there, because of the aging population, because of the, and एक बार कंट्री की पॉपुलेशन एजिंग हो जाती है, वहां पे प्रोडक्टिविटी ड्रॉप होती है, एंड दे नीड टू वेकेट द लेबर ओरिएंटेड और लेबर इंटेंसिव सेक्टर्स, बिकॉज दे कांट बी, there'll be wage inflation and all. They won't be that productive and that competitive in terms of labor side. So the India would have a biggest advantage in the coming 20 years in terms of working age population dependency ratio, and also India stands pretty well. Now if you look at size of the population and the per capita income, so India's top 5% population per capita income is northward of $12,000 and above. Next 5% is $6,000 and above. And the next 30 is, which we call is emerging India, has a per capita income of $3,300. So this 40% population matters for us because the 60% sustaining India is yet to catch up. They from the consumer point of view, the migration of next 30, which is a big number, the 43 crore population migrating eventually from emerging India to emerge India, and the per capita income migrating from $3,300 to $6,000, $8,000, $12,000 and above. That will swing the consumer, outlook and the consumption pattern substantially, and your discretionary consumption will increase dramatically in the coming decade or decades, maybe 15 to 20 years. It will, every year it will change few points consistently. And the biggest beneficiary would be unbranded to branded, which is roughly 25% of the population is likely to fall into that category, and unorganized to organized is a huge 40% of the population is likely to fall into that category. So this is phenomenal. That's where the biggest juice is there. Now if you look at India's per capita income at national level is close to $2,600. Now that $2,600 is though very low, but ये धीरे धीरे नंबर आया है. जैसे 2014 में एग्जैक्टली मतलब 10 साल पहले ये नंबर $1,300 था. सो $1,300 का नंबर $2,600 हुआ 10 साल में. सो आप देख सकते हो कि उसका जो ग्राफ प्लॉट हुआ होगा ना ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, वो 20 30 15 20 30 डिग्रीज पे हुआ है. एंड नाउ generally after crossing these number, the graph goes up at around 45 degree. So what you call your 45 degree graph will increase the speed. So your increase in the per capita income will be substantial. So जो 10 साल में जो चीज डबल हुई है ना, वो शायद 5 साल में अभी होगी, सो या 6 साल में. सो बाई 2030-31 हमारा पर कैपिटा इनकम एज अ कंट्री will reach to around $5,000 and above and even higher. अभी नेक्स्ट रेजिस्टेंस जो बोलते हैं वो $11,000 से $18,000 तक में काफी कंट्रीज स्पीक आउट हो जाते हैं. मतलब दे गो देयर एंड दे कांट क्रॉस दैट लेवल बियॉन्ड अ पॉइंट. सो ये क्यों होता है? मतलब इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ द स्टेगनेंट इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ. सो सबसे पहला जो पॉइंट है वो है लिमिटेड इकोनॉमिक डाइवर्सिफिकेशन. सो कॉमोडिटाइजेशन. फॉर एग्जांपल, ताइवान इज टू मच फोकस्ड टुवर्ड्स electronics and semiconductor, or Brazil towards, let's say, commodity, or Russia towards oil and gas, energy, or natural minerals. So, that is why government is trying to focus a lot beyond traditional businesses, like, towards electronics or mobile or semiconductors, renewables. Uh, these are the new emerging sectors which government is trying to put in over and above the existing one. So you, as a country, you need to have a limit economic diversification to avoid this thing. Number two, low productivity growth. So basically reverse demographic. So your aging, for example, China. So China आपका जो मैंने आपको समझाया कि एक रिवर्स डेमोग्राफिक प्ले हो रहा है, जहाँ पे वर्किंग एज पॉपुलेशन श्रिंक हो रहा है, labor cost is increasing, and so on and so forth. So, you need to keep your country young, and USA smartly did that. The moment they realized that, okay, we are likely to be aging country, they started importing young students from all over the world in their universities. So they countered it successfully. The fourth point is inadequate investments in human capital. So the focus cannot be always on cheap labor, because today's cheap labor is advantage, and will be considered as a disadvantage with the growing population age. So you should focus more on R&D, value addition. And again, the US kept on focusing on innovation and R&D, and so are other European countries. So, very few countries globally have surpassed this $80,000-$20,000 mark, and they are sustainably above that, and many of them are close to $80,000-$90,000. A few of them, sorry, are close to $80,000-$90,000 per capita income. And lastly, inefficient governance or corruption, or inadequate regulatory framework. So we have seen many Latin American or African countries, they are young, as good as India, but they fail to capture this economic momentum because of the last point. So Venezuela is a classic example. So as of late, things were not hunky dory in Brazil, and even our neighboring countries are the classic example of the same. Now, if you look at other data from per capita income point of view, India has got statewide a huge opportunity. So the UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, so their per capita income is pretty low. So UP might be, let's say, $1,300, Bihar $800, Jharkhand $1,400, Chhattisgarh MP $2,000. So they are much below the national average, whereas the states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Telangana, Goa, Delhi, Haryana, so their per capita income is already, 4,000, 4,500, or 5,000, $6,000 as well. So, so within India, there are two parts, and one part of the India is fairly developed, and it is going to see a substantial growth in per capita income. The other part is a low-hanging fruit, I would say, with growing literacy rate, with growing woman empowerment, with improving law and order situation, with improving infrastructure, improving logistic cost. This number will change and swing dramatically in the coming years. If you now look at why exports, so no economy can grow significantly and sustainably fast without exports. Extraordinary economic expansion of Japan or South Korea or China, for that matter, is a classic example that why the exports are important. India is very much blessed with the superior services and exports within the exports pie. and now followed by growing manufacturing exports, because manufacturing is now 15-16% of the GDP, employing 11-12% of the population, but is accounting just less than 2% of global merchandise exports. So there is a huge scope in a manufacturing exports, and India has a long runway for growth because of our, as I said, the young population, is very strong government support, increasing productivity and R&D, and more unicorns and cheap power and labor. If you talk with any industrialist in the last 4-5 years, the power cost hasn't gone up because of the renewables. The labor cost is pretty much under control. So if you do the little bit R&D and innovation, and if you achieve some certain scale, the export number can be a wonderful things in the coming years. So why to invest with ICE growth approach? These are the different time horizon in front of you: 15, 5, 8, 9, 13, 14, 17. And at the bottom, if you see the winning pillar, we have mentioned कि ये पीरियड में सबसे ज्यादा शेयर मार्केट में कौन से पिलर का पैसा बना है. सो 5 से 8 में इन्वेस्टमेंट पिलर, 9 से 13 में कंजम्पशन एक्सपोर्ट्स, 14-17 में कंजम्पशन, 18-20 में कंजम्पशन, 21-22 में इनिशियली एक्सपोर्ट्स बिकॉज ऑफ वर्क फ्रॉम होम इन आईटी और फार्मास्यूटिकल बिकॉज ऑफ कोविड, एंड देन it fell and again it bounced back. And actually 21 से 24-25 पूरा देखो तो it is all about investment. So there is no consumption at all in the market since last 4 years, except few pockets like jewelry or value fashion. Otherwise, the consumption is totally out of the sight in the market since last 4 years. Now this is chartical depiction, or if you look at the 2005 to 2008, the investment pillar indices return. So the stock returns are far higher, and mind you, these are in returns are in times. So banking 3 times return in 3 years, capital goods 6.5 times, energy 3.1, infra 4.5. So phenomenal returns which got created during that 5 to 8 period in investment pillar, whereas the consumption and export pillar massively underperformed during that time period. And then 9 to 15 came, where the private banks, FMCG, auto within the consumption part, or within the exports pillar, IT, pharma, and chemical, they deliver a phenomenal return. And during that period, the investment pillar massively underperformed, and there was actually a huge wealth destruction by the investment pillar sectors and the stocks. And again, if you look at recently, the investment pillar has bounced back sharply, and a little bit on the exports front as well. So during this time period, the consumption has actually massively underperformed. These are the illustration for the sectors in more detail. So for example, capital goods performed 6.5 times return in 3 years between 2005 to 8, and thereafter flattish return over 13 years. So that's a phenomenal long gestation of underperformance afterwards. Infra also 4.5 times returns in 3 years between 2005 to 8, and thereafter 15 years no return. This likewise, the PSU bank 2.5 times returns in 3 years, and then for 15 years almost no return. So whereas Bank Nifty, because of private banks, did very well, and it yet generated a good return. If you look at the metal index, 3 times return in 3 years between 2005 and 8, and thereafter 15 years no return, and now it has bounced back since last 3-4 years. So, now if you look at the pharma index, on the contrary, between 2005 to 8, where the investment pillar indices deliver in times, the return in times like 3 times, 4 times, 6 times. Here the CAGR is meager 13%. Whereas afterwards, 2009 to 15, the pharma index gave a fabulous 3.5 times returns in 5.5 years. And thereafter, a flattish return for almost 8 years with a huge underperformance. FMCG, because of its very nature, has been consistent with bouts of 2 years of underperformance in between. Auto index has actually delivered a phenomenal return between 2009 to 15, 16, 6 times in 6 years. And then again, it went for hibernation and remained range bound for 7 good years with no meaningful returns. Private banks on the overall has done well. These are just illustration. We have taken the data across the sectors in industry. For the paucity of the time, I'm skipping that. Now, if you look at here again, the after 13, 15 years of underperformance, the investment pillar bounced back post-COVID, thanks to strong government policies, and capital goods or infra has delivered a phenomenal returns. So basically, this fund will have to identify the winning pillar. You can see that how extraordinary these returns are, time period wise. So, for example, if you had invested into investment pillar more during this time period and remain underweight into consumption and export, your returns would have been phenomenal. Likewise, here, if you had shifted your focus back to the consumption and exports and remain underweight into the investment pillar, your return would have been even significant. So for any economic cycle, all the three pillars are important, but every time you have a different pillars performing, like investment pillar this time, consumption and export pillar this time, and again investment pillar. So our objective is that you identify the right winning pillar and pick up the sectors within that, and create a portfolio and remain invested. Now, if you look at the new generation businesses, which I mentioned that will be 20 to 25% of the portfolio, we have identified these four mega theme. The first mega theme is financialization of the savings along with increasing literacy rate. Uh, you know, if you talk with any youngsters, if you just ask them that what are you going to do with your savings, and where are you going to put your money in terms of investment, he would always talk about productive investments where the inflation can be taken care. He would hardly talk about putting money into fixed deposits or even PPF nowadays. So यहाँ पे the fintech revolution, wealth desk, AMC's depository insurance or intermediary software service providers. So ये जो थीम है उसमें हमारा एक फोकस रहेगा फॉर एज अ मेगा थीम. Second is a changing consumption habit. Because of the change in generation, your consumption habit changes drastically. So convenience has overpowered anything. Let's say if you're staying in front of the movie theater, yet you don't go and book the ticket at the window for the next weekend. You would rather open up the Book My Show app or any other app and book the ticket accordingly. So the quick service restaurant, quick commerce, e-commerce, processed food, and all these things are the basically generational changing habits are going to be part of the this portfolio. Third is themes like data center or allied opportunities. India has reached to 1 gigawatt capacity in terms of data center capacity over the period of last 18 years. And I think that in the next 3 years, another gigawatt will be added. So it's a phenomenal boom in the data and commensurate requirement of storage and applications is like unstoppable opportunity in the coming years. Similar is the semiconductor or renewable energy or new chemistry, new chemical entity for pharma and agro. The fourth is that India is very young and producing with scale. So country is slowly shifting its status from office to the world. So we are already, becoming office to the world. If you look at the global capacity center, so if you are MNC, you say, okay, I'm putting up the office backend in India, where my either the R&D team will be doing a work for rest of the factories, or the other backend team will be doing work for the rest of the offices all over the world. So that's like you're becoming office to the world. Eventually will become a factory to the world, thanks to a younger population, increasing productivity and adaptability towards adopting a new technology. And lastly, you will be becoming a digital hub to the world. So these AI, electronic, smartphone, engineering goods, auto, and all will be the fourth mega theme. So under the next generation businesses, under these four mega theme, we are going to construct the 20 to 25% of the allocation. So it's very nice, that you have a three pillar exposure. Of that, you identify आपका सबसे winning pillar कौन सा है, वहां पे ज्यादा position बनाओ. Then you have 40% within the three pillar, 40% stable compounder, 40% turnaround names, and 20% quality cyclical. With that, you also inculcate that 20 to 25% of the portfolio should be coming from next generation business opportunities. So these are just a few illustration. For example, this service is share of GCC. I mentioned that Global Capacity Center. So post-COVID, pre-COVID, if you see the share of GCC in India services export used to be in 18-19% range, which has moved up substantially to 26%. But if you look at the absolute number, it used to be $21 billion number uh, in 2020, and today it is $50 billion already. So in 4 to 5 years, so it's a phenomenal achievement, I would say. So these are the major themes. I won't talk too much on that, but that's how the portfolio is likely to be constructed. Now, very quickly, let me take you through the existing approaches. So all-weather fund, you all have the holdings, and these are the top 10 holdings for you to have a look. Sector wise bifurcation is there, and market cap wise bifurcation is there. So including cash, we maintain minimum 40% large cap exposure, including cash. So large cap plus ETF plus cash is 45-48%. Similar is diversified fund. These are the top 10 holdings. Uh, and again, including ETF and large cap, and cash on hand is close to 48%, and it's a fairly diversified portfolio as well. Business cycle fund is the third product. It is not even a 1-year-old baby. So around 10-11 महीना हुआ है ये फंड लॉन्च किया हुआ है, and the product has done very well. यहाँ पे हमारा ऑब्जेक्टिव ये था कि, और काफी लोग हमको अभी पूछते हैं कि इन्वेस्टमेंट 3 पिलर जो हमारा जो आइस फंड है और बिजनेस साइकिल में क्या फर्क है. सो मेजर फर्क, एक तो पोर्टफोलियो ओवरलैप इज वेरी लो, अराउंड 25-30, बिटवीन 25-35%. सेकेंडली, बिजनेस साइकिल फंड में it is also market cap agnostic product, so and it is also benchmark agnostic product. यहाँ पे भी हम disproportionately ज्यादा वेट लेते हैं, लेकिन यहाँ पे हम क्या करते हैं, जो बिजनेसेस हमको लगता है कि यहाँ से बॉटम आउट हो रहे, 1-2 क्वार्टर के अंदर इसके नंबर्स इंप्रूव होंगे और मार्केट की डिसबिलीफ आज है लेकिन कल वो बिलीफ में कन्वर्ट होगा. सो वो जो हेडविंड टू टेलविंड की जो जर्नी है उसमें हम एग्रेसिव पोजिशनिंग लेते हैं. सो इसमें सिंगल सेक्टर एक्सपोजर कैन बी एज हाई एज 40%. वहां पे सिंगल पिलर एक्सपोजर कैन बी एज हाई एज 40-50%, एंड पिलर के अंडर में मल्टीपल सेक्टर्स आ जाते हैं. यहाँ पे सिंगल सेक्टर इटसेल्फ इज very high. So it's all the way very aggressive product for the aggressive investors and business cycle. And in the case of ICE, it is not aggressive product. It is very, very qualitative, low churning thought process oriented product. So यहाँ पे business cycle के सामने churning भी ICE में कम हो जाएगा. अभी these are the top 5 holdings of the business cycle fund, and यहाँ पे ये फंड में भी बाकी के 2 फंड की तरह लार्ज कैप का हमने 40% का फ्लोर नहीं रखा है. सो यू कैन सी दैट द लार्ज कैप इंक्लूडिंग कैश इज लेस देन 25-26%, एंड देयर इज नो रिस्ट्रिक्शन अबाउट द लार्ज कैप फ्लोर, लाइक डाइवर्सिफाइड और ऑल वेदर वी कीप एटलीस्ट 40% लार्ज कैप इंक्लूडिंग कैश. So yeah, this is now if you look at all weather fund, I have put the data in terms of financial year. So if you look at 21-22, we just started, we got the license, we started deploying. Us time pe it was a Adani saga, and other high end inflationary trend was there, and we were very sure that let's not chase the return because the risk is going to follow back. Actually wahi hua. And we took the underperformance in 21-22 for the 7-8 months of the history, and then 22-23 market delivered negative return, but portfolio level पे काफी damage हुआ था लोगों का, and we remain positive, and hence there was a significant alpha over the benchmark in 22-23. Financial year 24 was again very robust. These are all net of fees and charges returns. So we generated a phenomenal 7.8% excessive return over benchmark. And the current year is slightly challenging. We have purposefully slowed down. हमारा last webinar में भी हमने आपको बताया था, personal meeting में भी बताया था कि just because of the risk factor of the general election, and our data points were not indicating the way market was thinking, the way the media was behaving. हमको नहीं लग रहा था कि NDA would get even 300 seats or 290 seats. So somehow we were not very confident, and हमको बहुत बड़ा रिस्क फैक्टर लग रहा था इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए. और 2 years का टू टर्म्स के बाद थर्ड टर्म का एंटी इंक्यूबेंसी फैक्टर भी दिख रहा था. So we went actually very defensive on first week of May and exactly उल्टा हुआ. मई पूरा और जून भी फर्स्ट वीक में प्रो मोदी जो सेक्टर्स या स्टॉक्स थे, लाइक डिफेंस, रेलवे, PSUs and other things, they perform excessively well, and we were sitting on the other part of the table. And ट्रेलर हम सब ने देखा on the day of the election result. The actual number reduced for the BJP standalone to 240, and also market Nifty went down by as low as 2000 point intraday. So we were not wrong. 15-20 point seats अगर आगे पीछे होता तो equation काफी different होता था. So for the interest of the investors, we choose to lighten up the position from the expensive. And दूसरा, वो सारे sectors काफी expensive थे. हमने बहुत highlight भी किया था कि ये sectors में अभी बहुत ज्यादा risk है, and we don't want to remain into fairly expensive pockets, and we purposefully avoided that. So वो 2-3 महीने को निकाल दो तो I think we are back to the game. And this gap, which is 7.3% now, is, let's say right now 6.3, 6.4 as on yesterday. And my sense is that year is still there, and we would be trying our best to recoup the ground. And एक बार पैसा wealth preserve किया है तो ये छोटे मोटे अंडर परफॉर्मेंस we can always recover. But we, by nature, we don't want to chase the risk, and we avoided that, and we wanted to avoid that. The same thing happened with diversified fund, where 21-22 was flat in terms of the alpha. 22-23 a very significant outperformance to benchmark, 4.33% का alpha. Last year was even huge alpha, 14.68% का alpha. benchmark 40% रिटर्न के सामने फंड का 54-55% रिटर्न था. This year the underperformance is 4.10%. I'm sure it can be dealt upon easily. We'll try our best to do that. Business cycle fund, on the contrary, has less than 1 year history, so we are putting numbers in a different format: 1, 3, 6 month YTD. So this fund has taken an aggressive bet on few sectors which have done well. So the returns are current financial, also the returns are strong, and since inception also the returns are strong. And mind you that most of the money in this fund came at the higher level, and yet at the fund level we are outperforming the benchmark, which indicates that all our investors are more or less having a alpha over the benchmark over the period of time. Now, in the interest of time, I'll just skip these few of the slides, and I will straight away, just wanted to highlight this thing. So if you look at the May, June 2 months return, so these are the few pockets of market BSE 500 that the return generated by these 4 pockets in the month of May and June. 2 महीने का ये return था. Significant return came where we avoided these pockets. If you look at the BSE 500, the breakup, the index delivered 7.42% return in 2 months. Top 225 stocks delivered 20% returns, and bottom 275 stock delivered negative returns. So it was a very skewed movement in the market ahead of election in anticipation of strong victory by the NDA. And we somehow did not agree, and we thought that it could be counterproductive if it would be played otherwise. Plus ये जो pockets है वो सारे expensive थे. These are like illustration of the P multiple movement in last 2 months, that is May and June, in those not last 2 months, in those 2 months time period. So you can read by yourself that the way the multiples got expanded from X to Y, and the re-rating has been phenomenal. So there was no point chasing up the return. Otherwise, we knew the risk will fall back, and exactly that's what has happened. Also, if you look at the last cycle EBITDA margin of most of the companies, and it's a long period, 13 to 20 years pre-COVID EBITDA margin numbers versus the FY24 reported EBITDA margin. So there has been a significant re-rating which has already happened. There has been a significant operating margin improvement which is already happened. So you are on a peak of at that time, in the month of June or July, you were sitting on peak valuations, you were sitting on highest ever EBITDA margin, very high ownership. People used to like this pocket aggressively, and base effect was getting bigger and bigger. So delivering higher growth on an incrementally high base is also difficult. So, these pockets have actually corrected recently significantly, and we have proven again that it's okay to, avoid temporarily by way of not purchasing the return, and ultimately the risk will follow back automatically. So that these are the reasons we did that. If you look at the earnings estimates, so FY25 is gone. You by and large, the 6 months are already over. So market will never look at the FY25 EPS numbers aggressively. Market will look at FY26 now, and by another 6 months down the line, market will start discounting FY27 numbers. But as of now, let's stick to FY26 numbers, and based upon that, 22,000 is the downside level and 27,000 is upside level we are looking at in Nifty. So the risk reward is not very attractive, and that is why we are suggesting all our investors to, for the ICE product, this new product, we say that we are going to put money over the period of 3 to 4 months, wherein we want to, we are hopeful of, getting the better entry points, and we'll invest over the period of 3 4 months in a scattered way in 3 to 4 tranches. And I think if the entry points can be made juicy, the return could magnify. Having said that, FY27 onwards, again, the Nifty would look very attractive. So its market has to go through the 6 months of time consolidation or value consolidation or correction. And eventually, based upon FY27 number, जो market 27 6 महीने के बाद चालू करेगा discounting, again market will look very attractive if there is a meaningful 10% sort of a correction. And in that situation, the reasons are not going to be domestic, because domestically things are pretty okay. It's going to be majorly overseas reason, driven by the repercussion of the previous loose monetary policies, or then subsequently rate hike, and again the economy going into probability of going into recession globally and especially in US. सो अगर यूएस में हार्ड लैंडिंग और हार्ड रिसेशन आता है तो इम्पैक्ट ज्यादा होगा, सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग और सॉफ्ट रिसेशन आता है तो इम्पैक्ट कम होगा. The time will tell, but in next 4 to 5 months, everything should be clear to all of us, and that's why we are also borrowing a time period of 4 to 5 months, wherein we want to put money gradually. But again, I'm telling you, this is going to be a very 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 strong entry point opportunity. उसके बाद वापस ये मौका नहीं मिलेगा, and we are going to see the FY27 numbers discounting by the market. So let's all be geared up and put a fresh money into a product. अगर आप खुद मल्टीपल लेवल्स पे इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हो तो ठीक है, वरना हम लोग आपका पैसा लेके 20% इन्वेस्ट करते हैं अभी, और 80% हम लिक्विड में एक सेपरेट प्रोडक्ट में डाल देते हैं, और एसटीपी के फॉर्मेट में हम वो पैसा ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ 3 4 months इन्वेस्ट करेंगे इन आइस इन्वेस्टमेंट अप्रोच. For existing funds like, all weather or diversified or BCF, business cycle, we are already sitting on decent 15 to 20% cash level, and we don't mind increasing the cash level if there is a need, and eventually we will deploy it back at the lower level. So eventually, by doing that exercise, the objective is to avoid the downside fall and, capture the upside momentum. So we are very very excited that this is the time to flush with the inflow and push the pedal, because अब ऊपर के मार्केट में हमको इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए पैसा देते हैं, we don't enjoy that. We always request our investors to put more and more money during a little bit challenging time or difficult time, and that's where ideally the investor should go aggressive. And we have personally created a lot of wealth. We have seen the successful investors creating a lot of wealth based upon this principle of chasing the valuations at the lower level, and creating a wonderful nice portfolio. जो हम confident है कि आइस का जो portfolio हमारा बना है वो बहुत अच्छा कर सकता है ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम। एंडेवर यही है कि हम ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम बेंचमार्क को कंफर्टेबली बीट करें एंड विथ लो चर्न, so taxation can be taken care. So that's what is all about product and the performance. I'll now keep the floor open for Q&A. Moderator, please uh, ask people to raise the questions either in the format chat format or raise the hand. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
everyone, you can put your questions on in chat box.
Okay, all of you can put your questions in a chat box. I will try my best to answer them. पहला क्वेश्चन है, मिनिमम फंड रिक्वायरमेंट फॉर आईसीई। अगर आप न्यू इन्वेस्टर है तो नेचुरली सेबी गाइडलाइन के हिसाब से 50 लाख का रिक्वायरमेंट है। पर अगर आप एग्जिस्टिंग इन्वेस्टर है तो हम 20 से 25 लाख रुपया मिनिमम एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं, बिकॉज एक अच्छा पोर्टफोलियो बनाने के लिए हमको डिसेंट अमाउंट चाहिए। दूसरा, अगर हमको एटलीस्ट 2 ट्रेंचेस में इन्वेस्ट करना है तो भी एटलीस्ट 25 लाख रुपया है, तो हम 2 ट्रेंचेस में पोर्टफोलियो को डिवाइड करके इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं। सो yeah, so this is the answer to your question about the minimum fund requirement. What will be the market scenario overall for the next 4 to 6 months? We articulated it very clearly. हमको market outlook में domestically कोई issue नहीं लग रहा है. It will be predominantly driven by overseas reasons, especially from US. And जब Indian market ज़्यादा टाइम के लिए प्रभावित नहीं होता है ओवरसीज रीजन की वजह से, वो हमने पास्ट में भी देखा है, और वो एक अपॉर्चुनिटी ही होती है। और स्पेशली डीप पॉकेट इन्वेस्टर्स जिसका रेगुलर कैश फ्लो है, जिसकी बिजनेस इनकम है या सैलरी इनकम है, उनको तो ये जो भी मार्केट के जो टाइम पीरियड है उसमें इन्वेस्ट ही करना चाहिए। आज तक हमने रियर व्यू मिरर में देख के यही बोला है कि काश मैंने ये टाइम में मार्केट में पैसा डाला होता। कभी हम ये नहीं बोल पाए कि काश मैंने ये टाइम पे मार्केट से पैसा निकाला होता, बिकॉज मार्केट्स आर जनरली गोइंग अप। एंड यहाँ पे भी मुझे लगता है कि बहुत लंबा पेन नहीं मिलेगा टाइम वाइज, और वैल्यू वाइज जो भी अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलती है उसको एनकैश ही करना चाहिए। कैन आई डू एसआईपी इन दिस फंड? इनफैक्ट आप एसआईपी हमारे तीनों एग्जिस्टिंग प्रोडक्ट में भी कर सकते हो और इसमें भी कर सकते हो आप, प्रोवाइडेड यू आर एग्जिस्टिंग इन्वेस्टर विथ अस, because you have to first start with if you are a new investor you have to start with 50 lakh rupees, and then आप SIP कर सकते हो every month। हम every quarter भी SIP लेते हैं, every month भी SIP लेते हैं, depending upon your comfort। Can we invest 25 lakh rupees in every schemes? Yes, you can divide your 50 lakh into 2 parts। So you can put 25 lakh into all weather or BCF or into diversified or into ICE. So yes, you can divide your part. So generally, if you're giving me 1 crore, you can put in 25 lakh each in all the 4 schemes. If you're giving 50 lakh, then we would suggest just choose 2 schemes out of the 4. It's a very nice question. My SIP is giving me 29% return and has been consistent investor since 2017. My corpus is almost 45 lakh. Why should I transfer 25 lakh to your business cycle fund or ICE fund? Uh, I'm assuming that this 29% return is coming from mutual fund, since you mentioned the word SIP. And I'm 100% sure that this is likely to be from the pure mid and small cap schemes. Uh, so we are, as I say, we are not 100% into mid and small cap. We are always into large cap for let's say all weather and diversified. For business cycle, yes, there is no such floor, and it is just a 8-9 months product, and within that we are performing very well. As far as risk is concerned and return is concerned, we always look at both parts, and we never would want to compare ourselves with a pure play mid and small cap schemes. So it is up to your risk taking ability and return expectations. If you are very happy with your risk and return metrics, we would be wishing you very good luck. And if you want to do the asset allocation, and if you want to experience asset diversification, we are here, and we are very transparent and with our thought process, and we stick to what we generally say. And over the period of time, we have also generated very decent returns. If you look at the last 3 years plus. So it's a matter of your risk versus return ideology. That's what I can say. Which two schemes would you prefer? It is up to you, sir, because Hamara, I think we like all of them. All weather is like, if you know all weather may, you can have exposure to precious metals and overseas markets as well, which is not there in rest of the product. For diversified, it is all about, जब मार्केट में बहुत ज्यादा विड्थ एंड ब्रेड्थ में तेजी होती है, तब ये फंड का टेल लंबा होता है, जिसमें हम चर्न करके रिटर्न बनाते हैं. सो लास्ट ईयर वाज फार बेटर फॉर डाइवर्सिफाइड वर्सेस ऑल वेदर. So that advantage is there only in diversified fund. Business cycle is too much concentration into one or two sectors. So it's for those kind of people who are okay to take a high risk, but they are happy to get the reward as well. And ICE is basically low churn, participating across the pillars, participating across the generational changing theme, and remain invested and yet create a significant wealth. सो आपके ऊपर है, आपको कौन सी प्रोडक्ट सूट करती है आपके रिक्वायरमेंट के हिसाब से. एंड you can go ahead with and you can also contact our backend team or our relationship manager. They would assess your thought process, your risk analysis, and your eventually they will guide you, but it is finally up to you to decide, because we can only suggest you, and you have to decide on your own based upon your expectations. If we put risk aside, then what is the best fund for long term returns? रिस्क को असाइड करके रिटर्न कभी नहीं बोलना चाहिए. सो आई वुड नेवर डू दैट रिस्क को छोड़ के रिटर्न, बिकॉज ऑल वेदर हैज रीजनेबली लो रिस्क, medium return. Diversified does very well during a buoyant equity market, where the market का depth and width दोनों बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्म करता है. BCF by as the name indicate, हमको कंसिस्टेंटली आज अच्छा सेक्टर मिला, उसमें 30-40% अलोकेशन कर दिया, साइकिल टर्न अराउंड हुआ, पैसा बना, फिर दूसरा सेक्टर पकड़ना है. आइस जो ऐसा प्रोडक्ट है जिसमें शेल्फ लाइफ बहुत लंबा है. व्हेन आई से सेल्फ लाइफ, मतलब इसमें इट्स लाइक अ नो ब्रेनर थिंग. इकोनॉमी 3 पिलर पे खड़ी है, तीनों पिलर हमारे पोर्टफोलियो में है. उसमें से सबसे बेस्ट पिलर नेक्स्ट 3-4 साल में कौन सा चल रहा है, वो कॉल लेना है. एक बार वो कॉल ले लिया, पोर्टफोलियो बना दिया, देन इट इज यू टू राइड द वेव. एंड आप इसमें निश्चिंत रूप पे लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्ट करके पैसा बना सकते हो. सो वो मैंने आपको वो समरी बताई. मतलब आप इसमें चारों में देखो तो रिस्क मैट्रिक्स में टॉप मोस्ट इज बिजनेस साइकिल, बिकॉज इसमें कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ द सेक्टरल इज वेरी हाई. सेकंड लेवल पे रिस्क में मैं रखूंगा डाइवर्सिफाइड फंड को, जहाँ पे टेल लंबा करके हम बनाते हैं. अगर मार्केट बहुत नैरो रिटर्न नैरो मूवमेंट में चलता है, जैसे 2017, 18, 19, 19 में हुआ था कि सिलेक्टिव स्टॉक्स ओनली परफॉर्म्ड एंड रेस्ट ऑफ द मार्केट वाज अंडर परफॉर्मिंग, तो this fund might have a little difficult time, though we'll try our best to execute as per the need of the market. All weather, as the name indicate, has a flavor of everything, and ice is I just mentioned, so it's like that. Now you decide what suits you, and maybe we can have a one-on-one session and take it forward. Any lock-in period? No, there is no lock-in period, but there are exit loads. You can get in touch with our team and they'll let you know about the exit load. But we don't want to make money out of the exit load, to be very honest. If there is a genuine requirement at your end and we feel that you're right, we can waive it off in case of extreme medical emergency or some other family requirements and so on and so forth. We are here to create long-term wealth for our investors. Our endeavor is to make money for ourselves with a genuine efforts and genuine fees. Exit load is not a good money to be made. Yeah, that's what I want to tell. Otherwise, there is no lock-in period. What is your current AUM? We are close to 800 crore as a house, and you can get all this data as well as from the various websites. So I think we are close to 800 crore as of now. If I transfer 25 lakh rupees from mutual fund to ICE or BCF, do I have to pay LTCG? Yes, sir, you have to pay LTCG. Whatever investments you are transferring, if it is a stock transfer, let's say from existing demat to our demat, then we'll have to look at which is the common name. अगर हमारे portfolio में वो ही stock है तो हम उसको नहीं बेचेंगे, और बाकी जो अनकॉमन है उसको हम बेच के हमारा पोर्टफोलियो में कन्वर्ट करते हैं, तो वहां पे आपको टैक्स लगेगा. अगर आप वहां पे बेच के डायरेक्ट हमको चेक ट्रांसफर करते हैं तो भी आपको वहां पे टैक्स भरना पड़ेगा. तो टैक्स इज अनअवॉइडेबल. बट आई थिंक मेरे हिसाब से टैक्स को ही प्रायोरिटी नहीं देना चाहिए. अल्टीमेटली व्हाट मैटर्स टू यू एज ए इन्वेस्टर इज आइडियोलॉजी and thought process and the return expectations and ability of the fund manager to navigate through the economic time crises and economic cycles, and finally a decent outcome is return. So usko pehle dekhna chahiye. Tax is a byproduct. Nevertheless, it is important, but not as much as the other points are. So we have any more members question? Please type it in a Q&A session. I would be more than happy to answer it. Otherwise, if you have any later on, if you think that okay, ये मेरा पूछना रह गया और मेरा ये clarification रह गया, you can always write an email to us. You can always do a phone call to us, and we can try solving your queries as soon as possible. So I think there are no more questions. I would just like to conclude one thing, and that is okay, one question has come. There is no lock-in. What is the cost format to us? Is it year on year or monthly? So we charge fees, and our fees are on quarterly basis on a closing AUM. So आपको हमारे डिफरेंट फीस मॉड्यूल्स हैं. आप अगर हमारे बैकएंड को कांटेक्ट करते हैं तो आपको सब ईमेल कर देंगे कि क्या हमारा फी स्ट्रक्चर है. सो वो अगर फिक्स फी में जाते हो तो क्वार्टरली आपके अकाउंट से डेबिट होता है. अगर हाइब्रिड मॉडल में जाते हैं तो उसका अलग साइकिल है, आपको वो बैकएंड टीम बता देंगे. So yeah, I think how much is your fees? We have a variety of fee structure, sir. The fixed fee is close to 2.25 to 2.5%, and 2.5%, I guess. And I'm very sorry, I'm very poor at the fees and all. You can get in touch with our team and they will give you a better answer. I'm only good at my work, that is fund management. सो आप फिक्स फीस ये रेंज में पकड़ सकते हैं. देन देर आर हाइब्रिड फी स्ट्रक्चर और वेरिएबल फी स्ट्रक्चर एज वेल बेस्ड अपॉन द परफॉर्मेंस. इट इज लिंक्ड टू द परफॉर्मेंस. So please do that, or else leave your mobile number over here and we can get in touch with you. So I think no more questions. Ladies and gentlemen, let me assure you one thing, that the coming years are going to be very, very exciting for India as a country. And if you actually look at the any country's economic cycle and any country's stock market returns, जब भी per capita income $2500-2600 से $11,000-12,000 जाता है, वो जो पीरियड है 45 डिग्री ग्राफ का, वो पीरियड में स्टॉक मार्केट के रिटर्न्स वो कंट्री के वन ऑफ द बेस्ट होते हैं. सो हमारा वो पीरियड यहाँ से चालू हो गया है और आने वाले 10-15 साल में हमारी वो जर्नी अचीव होगी. सो डोंट मिस दिस बिगर पिक्चर, डोंट मिस द opportunity by looking at the pretty small things, and always try to grab the opportunity whenever there is uncertain time, whenever there is a fear factor, and whenever there is a valuation certainty और सेंटिटी. सो आपको जब भी ऐसा लगता है कि हमारे साथ बात करनी है, आपको थॉट प्रोसेस शेयर करना है, आपको हमारा सजेशन चाहिए, तो वी आर मोर देन हैप्पी टू डू दैट. इनफैक्ट during the extreme panic level, we also trying to communicate to our clients that this is the best time to put money. So get ready for that. We might get the opportunity, and we'll grab that with our two hands, and we'll amass that, and we are going to use that opportunity for sure for all of you. So yeah, stay in touch. I think that's all. Wish you best of luck, and if you all have any queries, you can always get back to us. Abhay?
I think we are done, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Thank you everyone. Thanks.
Again, thank you all for joining us today.